A wonderful update. Of course, we invite you to come out Saturday. What time, tip-off? 2 o'clock at Loyola, as Lady Blue Devils have another chance to knock off another ranked opponent. So that'll be great. Next and last on the agenda today, we have Coach Mike Newell, head coach of the Blue Devils basketball team. And although we didn't have any regular games, we did have a couple exhibition games against some NCAA D1 opponents. Got the chance to see one of them, and it was an exciting game. Came up on the short end, but Coach Newell will give you the breakdown for the two games. Coach?
That now running back on defense reminds me of a story. Always have a story for everything. You've been doing it as long as I have. You always got stories. I remember I had a kid out of Tupelo, Mississippi named Jeff Cummins. And he was one of those kids he was 6'11", about 310. And a good player for us, but was constantly having to get him to run back on defense. And he was in good condition for his size. He just refused to run back hard every time. So I brought him in. I came up with the idea, okay, I'll get tape, let him watch it, and then we'll talk about it. So I bring him in and we sit down and watch the tape, and I see him, I call it jug button back. So here he's going, and I said, Jeff, that looks like, what looks like you? He says, well, he says, I know I'm not running that hard, Coach. I said, well, to me it looks like lazy. You're lazy. I says, and I don't think you're lazy. Oh, Coach, lazy's been running in our family ever since I can remember. And I said, really? He said, yes, I remember when it jumped to me in the 8th grade. And I said, well, look, is there any chance that we can maybe get you to run hard at least half the time, 1 out of every 2 times down the court, if you'll run back on defense hard? Jeff ended up having a great career for us until he started dating the lady, this girl whose daddy owned Sim's Barbecue in Little Rock. And we were having to go over about every other week and taking out slabs of ribs, baked potato, the whole 9 yards. And he ballooned up to about 340. And we finally just, it wasn't worth it. And he ended up not playing the last 2 months. He did end up playing overseas. But I'll never forget that whenever I hear somebody talking about getting back on defense and not running hard, I always remember him telling me that story. Coach, that's been running in my family ever since I can remember. It jumped on me in the 8th grade. Why we do this? Unbelievable. We are about, I didn't know where we were going to be from the standpoint of record-wise, in talking with some of the coaches and Dr. Barnes, not knowing a whole lot about NAI and how good you have to be to get where we want to go. But we are 5-2. We have, I think, the next 4 games. William Carey tomorrow night in Hattiesburg is they're ranked. We did win here. It was a good game, close game, and we made some plays and closed the game out of that one. And then we got Life University, which is very tough to beat at home with a great tradition. We got Carver Bible, and then we end with another ranked team, LSUS, in Shreveport. And as I said last week, out of all the teams that we've played, I'm not that convinced that Shreveport's that good. And having said that, last Monday, 2 days later, they beat Xavier by 10 points. Now, as I've always said, you can't compare scores, and I'm still not convinced that Shreveport's all that good. But maybe they are good for NAI. Until I see the top ones, then LSUA is the truth. Now, I've been around basketball long enough to know that they're good, and they've got what you got to have. They've got inside, they got good guard play, they had experience, and so we were, once again, we lost 2 games, 1 in overtime, which we lost. Missed free throws in an LSUS game, lose up 2. We had control the 2-point lead, and we had a kid dribble with 27 seconds to go off his foot or turn it over, which they would have had to foul. But that's the issue. And that's always going to be the issue with inexperienced teams, is being able to close out games. They don't know how. And you can't really practice it, because it's not the same when you put that scoreboard up. It's just a matter of getting that experience in game type situations and being able to be successful in making big shots, getting big stops. And we lost another one against McNeese State, a Division I school. We controlled the game, the whole game, and then when it got time to take it over, we just didn't do it. We didn't get a good possession on one end, and then at a critical time, and then defensively, we got a good stop, and then we had a kid dive on the fourth of the ball, and we thought it was going to be a jump ball, and it ended up being a travel, which that's the thing that our kids, inexperienced again, they're acting like when they call a timeout, walking over like, we got a bad, you got to understand, when you're on the road, I don't care if you're in junior high, you're not going to get a call on the road. It's very seldom you're going to get a call on the road. And that's inexperience. And the quicker you can get them to understand that, then, the better you're going to be. And then we gave up an easy shot, and then we didn't really get, we had a good look, he just didn't take the shot. And so when that happens, it tells me a little bit about yourself, about the player. And so that's something that's what you want to learn in those late game situations. Fortunately for us, the two games, Southern University, we were in the game first half. I think we were down 9. Second half we cut it to 5 or 6. But it never was. They always had control of the game. It wasn't like we put a scare into them. But now they're pretty good. They beat Mississippi State. They beat Tulane. And now, once again, just visually passing the eye test, we were as big as them. We didn't. We're not quite as athletic, and not quite as polished yet. And that was the difference in the team. And of course, they, playing at home certainly gives you an advantage. But I'm very, like I said, I'm very happy with where we are. I was hoping that we'd be farther along. There's certain things that I try to get in the first, say, 6-7 weeks of your season, and then keep adding to that and making adjustments to your personnel as you find out who your top 8 or 9 guys are. And then you can add, it's mostly special situation stuff. We haven't been able to do that yet because we still have not grasped the offensive side and the defensive side of what we've got to get done. We played zone both games, and we did a pretty good job. And I do not like to play that much zone, but until we get better man-to-man, as I said, I'm not going to continue to play where you got your best players only playing 19 or 20 minutes because they can't guard. I mean, so at least we did accomplish that. Our best players played a lot of minutes when we were playing zone. And it really didn't hurt us. Southern was at 5 out of 20 the first half, and then they come back and hit 10 out of, they were like at 30%. So that's pretty good, really. And it kept our players in the game. So we will continue to do that, particularly on the road. And I think that with the group that we have, I think that with the games that we've got, I felt like if we could get through the first half of the season and be in a near 500, hopefully you'd be 10-2. You know how coaches do; they go down and see which games then they'll go back the next day, and depending on their mood, they had 10-3 the day before. The next day they're 5-5 or something. So you just can't do that, although we still do it. But you just got to take them one at a time. And I don't really. My main focus in this time of year is playing against the game, of getting better. We have done great against handling pressure, full court, other than the blue and white game when Coach Barnes had him. We didn't have the press attack in yet. But we've done great there, which means we've kept our composure and we have not turned it over. Well, like you would normally do against a press. So we've made great strides there. Offensively, we're getting better there. Dennis Hightower finally shot the ball well. Dimitri Austin, once he gets playing. And the thing that I've got to keep reminding myself is that even when you redshirt a kid and they play and practice in your system for a year, but they don't get in those games and play, they develop rust on their game. Because it's just not the same as going into practice every day as it is when that scoreboard lights up, and mom and dad and girlfriend and all those people in the stands. It's just a different feel. So we've got these kids that we've played 7 games now, and we've got guys we've got half our team that had actually redshirted, a couple of them for a couple of years. So they've got some rust. And because I know Dennis Hightower is better than a 35% free throw shooter. There's no doubt in my mind. But we just talked about that yesterday in the leadership committee, and a lot of other things. But those are some things that you know that they're better than that, and you're just waiting for it to come out. And he did play well. He shot the ball well against McNeese State, and had 9 assists, 1 turnover. And then Dimitri played well again. Ramon dropped off a little bit, the big kid, Ramon Johnson. But we started a whole new lineup, because after the loss here, sometimes you have to do something to get attention, and the beauty of getting the players' attention is when the games don't count. So we started, and I didn't tell anybody I was starting on new players, so you can imagine their looks when they came back in after the 9-minute mark, and all the starters were, let's go, and then we go up there and say, okay, this is who's starting. And then I heard DJ Dennis Reed coming out, and he says, he was telling one of the players, he said, y'all should have seen your faces when you went on that board. But it got their attention. And so I asked Will Gonzalez as I'm walking out, I said, you think that shook him up a little bit? And he just started laughing. And you have to do that every now and then. And I found that over the years, until you get that experience. Now, once you get that experience and you get those kids that played for you for a year and a half or so, then you don't have to mess with that. The ego, I guess, is maybe the best word I could use. So here we are, 5-2. Did have a guy. I was driving, or actually coming in last week, and it makes you feel good. I mean, I walk in front. He was high coach, and he works here on campus. I don't know his name. I got to learn that Dr. Barnes, I know. But he got away, and he rolled the window down and leaned over, and he said, Coach, he said, I've been here 18 years. He said, I've been waiting for this. And of course, my comment was, appreciate you. It's going to get better. And so he said, well, I look forward to it. But when people like that take notice, and the thing that you have to realize, and I preach to the players all the time, is that, you're always getting patted on the back and have to remember what got you here. Remember, we still got work to do, and just because we're 5-2 in November, I want them saying that when we get back from Kansas City. That's when I want them, to pat you in the back. And I think we've, I think that we are making progress, and I think that these next few games are going to be huge. They're going to be tough, and so I'm not as good of what's the word that I want predictor as Coach Rome. Yeah, prognostic. Yeah, I make my players use big words to spell. So, anyway, any questions out there? Hope everybody had a happy holiday, by the way. Yes, Dr. Barnes.
So when you made the change in your lineup, how did your starters respond?
Very good. Dimitri, you could tell he was upset. Yeah. And because he's used to playing and he wants to play, which they all do. But, you know, they, and Hightower did a lot better, but Dimitri came in with Southern. The only one I started was, I think Ramon, was the rest of them. And Jesse Ward, he really hadn't had a fair shot yet. So it was a chance to see him, and he made some threes, yeah. And Jesse and Sean Burrell, chance to, you know, see him. And but yeah, I thought our guys, when it would come their time, they responded quite well to that. And right now, tomorrow night, our best group right now until our guards get to playing better. And